Hey fellas, I wanted to go over installation of an aftermarket navigation system in I have a 2008 Lincoln Mark LT, but this will cover the 2004 to 2008 F150 as well. This truck has the factory navigation system in it. Remove my key here. And it also has the backup camera. But the factory navigation system is a bit dated, and I don't have Bluetooth capabilities. So what I wanted to do was essentially buy an aftermarket system that had the ability to do the Bluetooth, to do the DVD, and to have a better navigation system. The other thing that I wanted to do is I want to put the input feed of the backup camera into the new system. And we can do that, and that's what we want. That's what I'm going to discuss with you today, is essentially how to do that. Because this is probably one of the first backup cameras that they had come out with, was for this pickup in 2008, and the camera is very, very small. So anyway, we're going to go over that today, and we'll go through the process from start to finish on how to take the dash apart, how to unplug, rewire. It's pretty simple. The system that I got is plug and play, but we will have to tap into the backup camera feed and a 12-volt source when we're in reverse to allow it to work. So I'm going to go over that with you, and we'll have fun. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to pull on this. I've already started it because I can't hold the camera. But essentially, we want to put a hand here and a hand there and just kind of pull back gently, and this will come right off. It's just pushed in. I'm sorry that it's not that bright in here. Let's get some light going. Okay, and that all comes off. And I'm just trying to be gentle. This is the very first time that I've ever had this off of this truck, so I'm trying to be as gentle as I can. Let me get things disconnected, and we'll come back online. All right, so what I've done is I've essentially removed this airbag light that plugs into this air plug wire that plugs into the top of this, just so I could get this out of the way. I didn't disconnect every single wire down here. I don't need to. Like I said, we just need to get this thing out of the way. So I'm just being gentle, and I don't have a lot of strain on the wires. The next thing is we got a couple screws that are holding in the factory system. Now, keep in mind that if you don't have factory navigation, that's okay. This is going to come apart the exact same way. If you just have the CD player thing up top here, and you don't have, like the climate control, it's essentially the exact same thing. This down here is actually for XM or Sirius satellite radio. So let's not worry about that. So we're going to remove these screws, and these are 9/32. So we'll remove them, and I'll get back online. All right, so I got the screws out, but one thing that I did want to mention is sometimes the clips don't come out. There's a hole here, there. This one actually stayed in, so we got to grab a pair of needle nose pliers and just pull that thing out of there. We just muckle a hole of it and pull it out, and there it is, and we'll put that back on the deal. So as you can see, I've removed the screws. Now we're ready to just pull out the entire system. And mine is actually just kind of resting in there, and I'm sure yours would be too. This is a really heavy system, so obviously there's going to be plugs on the back of this guy. We're going to unplug it, and we're going to get it out of there. All right, I got it out of there. First time doing this. So one thing that I did notice is you have very tiny little slack on this whole wiring harness. But I had this plug. Pretty simple. If you reach, you'll have a small hole to reach down in, but you push down on these tabs and you'll be able to pull them right out as you're pulling down. This here is for my GPS antenna. You may not have this if you don't have factory navigation, and it's on the side. It's plugged in like this. You're just going to push in and pull that out, and then of course you have your radio antenna, and you're just going to simply pull that out. You don't have to press or depress anything. So that's where we're at thus far with this. So here's a system sitting over here, and this is made by Pioneer, and this is going to be for sale if anybody's interested at all, let me know. Maybe we can talk about it, but I'll probably put it on eBay and sell it. They're going for pretty big money. So anyway, so here we are. This is the part we're at. So we're going to put our new system in. It says that the system is now plug and play. So let me go grab that other system and we'll come right back. All right, guys, one thing that I did want to discuss was if you don't have factory navigation and you're trying to use a factory, or not a factory, an aftermarket antenna for the GPS, I wanted to talk about where we can mount that. And there's a really good spot on these F-150s, Mark LTs, and it's up in, let me see if I can get the light up in there. But it's essentially, there we go, this wires, or this cable's in the way. But if we get that out of the way, you can go up through that hole, and you see that support up there? The antenna can rest right in that channel, and it's right below the dash. Perfect spot for it. Great reception, no issues. So that's a good spot to put it, just FYI. So here we are on the passenger side of the 2008 Lincoln Mark LT. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and removed the A-pillar from the passenger side. It's pretty simple. I'll show you over here. But you're going to remove that cap, and there'll be two screws behind them. And those caps will just remove with a soft screwdriver. Just you pry them out there. And then you just kind of grab the handle and pull it out. It's pretty simple. In behind this pillar will be this wire. So what you'll need to do is grab an X-Acto knife and cut open that wire. And let me get some light on there so you can see it. Okay. And we're going to talk about this. The reason we need to get to here, that's probably too much light. Alright, so you see the green with the yellow stripe on there. That is going to be your reverse wire. That is like your reverse lights. So what this does is it sends a signal to the camera saying, okay, display. Now on these Ford vehicles, Lincoln vehicles, the camera is technically always on, the reverse camera, but the display doesn't come on until the vehicle's put in reverse. That's why you need to connect to this wire. So within this, there'll be another insulated set of wires down in here, and you'll have to cut that open as well, and you'll peel that back, okay? And I'm sorry, I know this isn't the best. I'm trying my very best. We're up close and personal. Probably a little too up close and personal. So, okay. So now if you look closely, you'll see a black with yellow trim wire inside there. And you'll also see a red with yellow trim wire inside of there. What those two wires are is your video plus and your video minus. So your video plus is the red with the yellow tracer. And your video minus is the black with the yellow tracer. Pretty simple. Okay, so as we remember that, what we want to do is we're going to take an RCA cable that has an end like this. Well, if you go to the other end, if you go to the other end, you'll have small black and red wire there. You'll strip that off. I have them at different lengths. And what we're going to do is we're going to run these in line. The red is going to go to the red and yellow. The black is going to go to the black and yellow. So essentially you're going to have three wires coming from here to your stereo system, which is over there. Now, keep in mind, you can, once we route it, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but this glove box comes off pretty easy. We're just going to push in on both sides of it. I'm going to put the camera down just for a second. We're going to push in on both sides of it, and it's going to come right down. Okay, and then we have clear access to run those wires through our dash from over here, in behind the glove box, in through to the back of here. So, this is the new system. Looking at this wiring harness, we have a wire that is called reverse. Right there, and that for me is this blue wire. It's marked from the factory, it says reverse. Why is that not focusing? Stand by. Let's try that now. Alright, so that says reverse. And we're going to obviously connect our reverse wire to our reverse wire. Remember, our green and yellow, which sends the signal to say, okay, monitor, you can turn on now. That's what we're going to connect. So that's my next step. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to solder them. Well, I'm going to solder 2 of them. I'm probably going to use a connector on another one. But you need to tap into all 3 of those wires, run everything across to your center console. So I'm going to do that. Right, so here we are, wired up, ready to go to our head unit. What I did is I used a connector to splice into the green and yellow wire. And then I actually had to solder the RCA cables, and I've already taped it up, but what I had to do was I had to melt a tiny bit of wire, or a tiny bit of insulation off of the wire with a soldering iron, and then I wrapped the RCA wire around it and then soldered onto that point, and then put duct tape around, or electrical tape around it. It was quite a tedious process. You don't have much room to work with. There's very little slack. All I can say is take your time. Make sure you're not in a rush to do this. Don't, start this project and then you need to have your truck done in an hour or 2, because it's just, it's just not realistic. Take your time and you can do it. But like I said, these are the wires, and this was the hardest part for me. We had to pull out a wiring diagram, schematic, to be able to determine these wires. And, you look on these online forums all over the place. Everybody tells you something different. I never really did see anything on the '08 Lincoln Mark LT, and I'm not sure if the '08 F150 even had the ability or had an option to have a backup camera. So it may be a rare breed, and I may be doing this specifically for Lincoln guys who want to have a bigger picture. But nevertheless, we're ready to go. I just got to run that RCA cable down through the dash, and I'll hook everything up here. It's just, like I said, plug and play, and we'll be ready to go, and I'll show you the end result. Hopefully everything works. It's my first time. All right, fellas, I was going to complete the install of the aftermarket head unit with the reverse, and I got everything wired up and found that the head unit was a complete piece of shit. I did get the reverse to work on it, but I didn't fully install it. My factory amp and sub didn't work in the truck, and the steering wheel controls didn't work properly, and there was all sorts of issues. It's just a piece of shit aftermarket eBay junk ass head unit. So I sent that back, but the wires that I showed you, the red with yellow and the black with yellow, and then the, I believe, green with yellow, those were all the correct wires. If you wire it up that way and connect your reverse wire out of your head unit to that green and yellow wire, that'll get you going. And you just get the video feed and plug that into an RCA cable outlet, which is every aftermarket head unit is different. Mine was CCD in, which gave me the input. But it did work. Like I said, I just didn't complete it, but I wanted to get the information out there so that if you had a good aftermarket head unit, a name brand, I would highly suggest, a Pioneer, Kenwood, Alpine, whatever. But, if you buy a Zenon from China, because you're saving $500, well, take it from me, that $500 that you're saving is $500 worse, if not more, probably more so in quality. The menus are junk. The operating system that it uses is junk. It's just Chinese shit, and I like to try to save money where I can, when I can. But you get to a point where you go, it's just not worth it. So I have since ordered a Kenwood Headunit Navigation system that cost me significantly more money. But when I get that going, I'm going to see if I can do the reverse deal in that and then kind of finish this video out. The problem is with these things you can buy from Crutchfield, your Kenwoods, your Alpines, Pioneers, you have to buy the wiring harnesses separately, from Metro or whatever, that work with your specific vehicle. The problem is the '08 Lincoln Mark LT had a factory amp and sub in it, and I'm not sure that the F150 did, or had an option where you could. But nevertheless, you know, if it was as easy as they say, you know, the system that I got from eBay was plug and play, you know, plug and play, and it wasn't. You know, they said, well, in order to get the I called them, I messaged them back. They said, well, in order to get the factory amp and sub working, you need to buy a separate harness. You got to use a resistor. You got to plug that resistor. It was a mess. And I said, you know what? It's not plug and play. Send me a return shipping label because I'm done with it. So that's that. But hopefully I can get you going and we can get this video wrapped up and I can show you the end result. Thanks for watching.